Welcome to the fascinating world of forensic psychology. This field sits at the intersection of psychology and the law, exploring how human behavior and mental processes influence legal proceedings. Forensic psychologists play a crucial role in criminal investigations, courtrooms, and correctional settings. They help answer questions about criminal responsibility, competency, and risk assessment. In this video, we'll journey through the core concepts, history, and applications of forensic psychology, giving you a solid foundation to understand how psychology serves justice. Let's begin by uncovering what forensic psychology truly means and why it's so vital in today's legal landscape. Forensic psychology is the application of psychological principles and methods to the legal system. It involves understanding criminal behavior, evaluating mental health in legal contexts, and providing expert testimony in court. Forensic psychologists might assess a defendant's mental state, help law enforcement with criminal profiling, or work with victims of crime. Their expertise bridges the gap between psychological science and legal practice, ensuring that justice is informed by a deep understanding of human behavior. This unique blend of disciplines makes forensic psychology both challenging and rewarding. Roots of forensic psychology can be traced back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Early pioneers like Hugo Munsterberg and William Marston began applying psychological insights to legal questions, such as eyewitness testimony and lie detection. Over time, the field expanded to include a wide range of topics, from jury decision-making to criminal profiling. Today, forensic psychology is recognized as a vital specialty within both psychology and the legal system, with its own professional organizations and ethical guidelines. Forensic psychologists wear many hats. They might conduct psychological assessments for courts, provide therapy to offenders, consult with law enforcement, or serve as expert witnesses. Their work often involves evaluating mental competency, risk of reoffending, and the psychological impact of crime on victims. By offering scientifically grounded insights, forensic psychologists help ensure that legal decisions are fair and informed. Their expertise is invaluable in cases involving insanity defenses, child custody disputes, and more. Forensic psychologists work in both criminal and civil cases. In criminal cases, they might assess a defendant's sanity or provide profiles of unknown offenders. In civil cases, they could evaluate emotional trauma, competency to stand trial, or child custody arrangements. The skills required in each context can differ, but the underlying goal remains the same: to apply psychological science to legal questions. Understanding these distinctions is key to appreciating the full scope of forensic psychology. One of the most important tasks for forensic psychologists is determining whether a person is competent to stand trial. This involves assessing the individual's mental state, understanding of legal proceedings, and ability to participate in their own defense. Competency evaluations help ensure that only those who are mentally fit face trial, protecting the rights of vulnerable individuals. These assessments require a careful balance of clinical skill and legal knowledge. Insanity defense is a legal strategy that argues a defendant was not responsible for their actions due to a severe mental disorder. Forensic psychologists play a key role in evaluating whether a defendant meets the legal criteria for insanity. This process involves detailed psychological testing, interviews, and a thorough review of the individual's history. Their findings can have a major impact on the outcome of a case, making accuracy and objectivity essential. Forensic psychologists are often called upon to assess the risk that an individual might pose to themselves or others. This is especially important in parole hearings, sentencing, and decisions about release from psychiatric facilities. Risk assessment involves evaluating factors like past behavior, mental health status, and social support. The goal is to provide courts with reliable information to guide decisions about public safety and rehabilitation. Criminal profiling is one of the most well-known aspects of forensic psychology. Profilers analyze crime scenes, victimology, and behavioral patterns to develop a psychological portrait of unknown offenders. While popularized in media, real-world profiling is a complex process that combines psychological theory with investigative experience. It can help law enforcement narrow down suspects and understand criminal motives. Witness testimony can be powerful in court, but it's also prone to error. Forensic psychologists study how memory works and why witnesses sometimes make mistakes. Factors like stress, suggestion, and time can all influence what people remember. By understanding these issues, forensic psychologists help courts evaluate the reliability of eyewitness accounts and avoid wrongful convictions. Forensic psychologists also contribute to the jury selection process. They help attorneys identify potential biases and select jurors who can fairly evaluate evidence. Additionally, psychologists study how juries make decisions, including the influence of group dynamics and persuasive arguments. Their insights can lead to more just outcomes in the courtroom. Family courts, forensic psychologists often conduct child custody evaluations. They assess the mental health of parents, the needs of children, and the quality of family relationships. Their recommendations help judges make decisions that are in the best interests of the child. These evaluations require sensitivity, objectivity, and a deep understanding of developmental psychology. Forensic psychologists also work with victims of crime, providing support, therapy, and advocacy. They help victims process trauma, navigate the legal system, and recover from their experiences. By understanding the psychological impact of crime, these professionals play a vital role in promoting healing and justice for those affected. Within correctional facilities, forensic psychologists provide assessment, treatment, and rehabilitation services to inmates. They address issues like substance abuse, anger management, and mental illness. Their work helps reduce recidivism and supports the safe reintegration of offenders into society. Correctional psychology is a challenging but essential part of the justice system. Forensic psychologists are often called to testify as expert witnesses in court. They explain complex psychological concepts in ways that judges and juries can understand. Their testimony can influence verdicts, sentencing, and the overall administration of justice. Being an expert witness requires clear communication, impartiality, and a strong ethical foundation. Ethics are central to forensic psychology. Practitioners must balance their duties to clients, courts, and society. They face unique challenges such as maintaining confidentiality while fulfilling legal obligations. Professional organizations provide ethical guidelines to help psychologists navigate these dilemmas and uphold the integrity of the field. Becoming a forensic psychologist requires extensive education and training. Most professionals hold a doctoral degree in psychology, along with specialized coursework in law and criminal justice. Practical experience, such as internships and supervised practice, is also essential. Ongoing education ensures that forensic psychologists stay current with developments in both psychology and the law. Research is a cornerstone of forensic psychology. Psychologists study topics like eyewitness memory, deception detection, and the effectiveness of rehabilitation programs. Their findings inform best practices and shape public policy. By advancing scientific knowledge, forensic psychologists contribute to a more effective and just legal system. Forensic psychologists use a variety of psychological tests to assess mental health, personality, and risk. These tools include standardized questionnaires, interviews, and behavioral observations. Accurate testing is critical for making reliable recommendations to courts and other legal authorities. Key focus of forensic psychology is understanding why people commit crimes. Psychologists examine factors like personality, upbringing, mental illness, and social influences. By identifying risk factors and patterns, they help develop strategies for prevention and intervention. This knowledge is essential for both law enforcement and the courts. Forensic psychologists play an important role in the juvenile justice system. They assess the mental health and developmental needs of young offenders, recommend treatment options, and advise courts on appropriate interventions. Their work helps ensure that juveniles receive fair and effective support rather than simply punishment. Mental health issues are common in legal cases. Forensic psychologists evaluate conditions like depression, schizophrenia, and PTSD to determine their impact on behavior and legal responsibility. Their assessments guide decisions about treatment, sentencing, and support services, ensuring that mental health is properly addressed in the justice system. Police psychology is a specialized area where psychologists work with law enforcement agencies. They provide training on crisis negotiation, stress management, and dealing with mentally ill individuals. Police psychologists also help officers cope with the psychological demands of their work, promoting mental health and effective policing. Civil commitment involves the involuntary hospitalization of individuals who pose a danger to themselves or others due to mental illness. Forensic psychologists assess whether someone meets the legal criteria for commitment and recommend appropriate interventions. Their evaluations protect both individual rights and public safety. In cases of unexplained or suspicious deaths, forensic psychologists may conduct psychological autopsies. This process involves reconstructing the mental state of the deceased through interviews, records, and behavioral analysis. Psychological autopsies can help determine causes of death, such as suicide or homicide, and provide closure for families. Detecting deception is a key skill in forensic psychology. Psychologists use interviews, behavioral cues, and sometimes polygraph tests to assess whether someone is telling the truth. While no method is foolproof, psychological research helps improve the accuracy of lie detection and informs investigative techniques. False confessions are a serious concern in the justice system. Forensic psychologists study why innocent people sometimes admit to crimes they didn't commit. Factors like coercion, stress, and misunderstanding can all play a role. By identifying these risks, psychologists help prevent wrongful convictions and promote fair investigations. Psychopathy is a personality disorder characterized by lack of empathy, impulsivity, and antisocial behavior. Forensic psychologists assess psychopathy using specialized tools and help courts understand its impact on criminal behavior. Their evaluations can influence sentencing, treatment, and risk management decisions. Rehabilitation is a key goal in forensic psychology. Psychologists design and implement treatment programs for offenders, focusing on reducing risk and promoting positive change. Effective rehabilitation can lower recidivism rates and support safer communities. Treatment approaches are tailored to individual needs and based on scientific evidence. Cultural competence is essential in forensic psychology. Psychologists must understand how cultural background influences behavior, mental health, and legal outcomes. By respecting diversity and avoiding bias, they provide fair and effective services to people from all walks of life. Victimology is the study of victims and their experiences. Forensic psychologists analyze the impact of crime on victims, including psychological trauma and recovery processes. Their work informs victim support services and helps the legal system respond compassionately to those affected by crime. Forensic psychologists are often involved in cases of family violence, including domestic abuse and child maltreatment. They assess risk, provide therapy, and recommend interventions to protect victims and rehabilitate offenders. Their expertise is crucial for breaking cycles of violence and promoting safe family environments. Assessing and treating sex offenders is a specialized area within forensic psychology. Psychologists evaluate risk, recommend treatment, and advise courts on management strategies. Their work helps protect communities while supporting the rehabilitation of offenders. Substance abuse is closely linked to criminal behavior. Forensic psychologists assess the role of drugs and alcohol in offending, provide treatment options, and help courts understand the relationship between addiction and crime. Addressing substance abuse is key to reducing recidivism and promoting rehabilitation. Technology is transforming forensic psychology. Psychologists use digital tools for assessment, research, and communication. Online therapy, virtual reality, and data analysis are just a few examples of how technology is enhancing the field. Staying current with technological advances is essential for effective practice. Media portrayals of forensic psychology often shape public perceptions. While TV shows and movies can raise awareness, they sometimes exaggerate or misrepresent the field. Forensic psychologists work to educate the public and correct misconceptions, ensuring that people have a realistic understanding of their work. Professional organizations such as the American Psychology Law Society provide support, resources, and ethical guidance for forensic psychologists. Membership in these groups helps practitioners stay informed about advances in the field and maintain high standards of practice. Forensic psychology is practiced around the world with variations in legal systems and cultural contexts. International collaboration and research help advance the field and promote best practices globally. Understanding these differences enriches the work of forensic psychologists everywhere. Future of forensic psychology is bright with ongoing research, technological innovation, and expanding roles in the justice system. Psychologists are developing new assessment tools, exploring the impact of neuroscience, and advocating for reforms that promote fairness and rehabilitation. Staying adaptable and informed is key to meeting the challenges ahead. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a defendant charged with a serious crime who appears confused and unable to communicate with their attorney. A forensic psychologist is brought in to assess competency. Through interviews and testing, the psychologist determines that the defendant has a severe mental illness, making them unfit for trial. The court uses this information to order treatment rather than proceeding with prosecution. In another case, law enforcement faces a series of unsolved crimes. A forensic psychologist is asked to develop a criminal profile based on crime scene evidence and victim characteristics. The profile helps narrow down suspects and eventually leads to an arrest. This example highlights the practical value of psychological expertise in solving complex cases. Consider a contentious child custody dispute. A forensic psychologist evaluates both parents and the child, observing interactions and assessing mental health. Their report provides the court with objective recommendations, helping ensure the child's well-being is prioritized in the final decision. A victim of violent crime is struggling with trauma and anxiety. A forensic psychologist provides therapy and helps the victim navigate the legal process. With professional support, the victim gradually recovers and is able to participate in court proceedings. This case demonstrates the healing power of psychological intervention. Forensic psychologists face many challenges, from managing ethical dilemmas to working with difficult populations. They must stay objective, handle sensitive information, and adapt to evolving legal standards. Despite these obstacles, their work is essential for promoting justice and protecting society. Forensic psychology is a dynamic and impactful field that bridges the gap between psychology and the law. From assessing competency to supporting victims and informing public policy, forensic psychologists play a vital role in the justice system. As the field continues to evolve, its contributions to fairness, safety, and rehabilitation will only grow. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of forensic psychology's fundamentals.